The gospel community shocked by the death of Sfiso Ncwane. Hout Bay residents have opened a case of criminal juror against a resident for racist comments. A call for South Africans to unite as the country remembers former President Nelson Mandela. A very happy Monday to you. You're watching eNews Direct. I'm Duduzile Ramela.
And I'm Sandy Legangase. Good evening.
To comment on our stories, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct.
And tonight our hashtags are RIP Sfiso Ncwane and Vanessa Hartley.
Award-winning gospel artist Sfiso Ncwane has died. The 37-year-old gospel artist died in a Johannesburg hospital this morning. President Jacob Zuma has described Ncwane's death as a huge loss to the country. He says he touched millions of hearts through his music. The family has confirmed that he died of kidney failure in hospital. Let's cross live now to our Nontobeko Sibisi, who's standing by outside Ncwane's home in Dainfern Ridge Fourways, and she's joined by the family spokesperson. It's over to you, Nontobeko.
Well, certainly a very sad one, Dudu, this morning, the start of hearing the shocking news of a legendary multi-award-winning musician who's lost his life in the early hours of this morning. We're told that he passed away at 9:30 in the loving arms of his wife, Ayanda. But we're going to speak now to a spokesperson, Mhlo Gumede, who's going to tell us much more about the details behind the statement. Mhlo, first and foremost, condolences to the family, but let's start out here. What are the details around his passing this morning?
There's not a lot of details, like we said in the press statement earlier. Sfiso, he was performing in Polokwane over the weekend. I saw him on Saturday morning before he left. He spoke over the phone. He was fine. He went to Polokwane and came back. He was supposed to have a gig in Johannesburg yesterday. And after that, he told the band, no, I can't. I'm not feeling okay. I want to go home and just lie down so that I'll be fine for tomorrow. He went home and he went to lie down. Says Ayanda, Manzela Masi, and he slept. After that, he woke up and tried to go to the bathroom where all started, and then he fell. He started bleeding and was taken to the hospital Fourways, where they diagnosed him with kidney failure. Then he was kept overnight, obviously. Unfortunately, 9:30 this morning, he took his last breath in the presence of Ayanda. So it's like that.
Now, Babngane has never been shy about sharing intimate pictures with Yena and his wife, Ayanda. How is Ayanda doing at this time, including the two children?
I think you can imagine. I think she's not okay. I'm not even going to dwell much into that, but she's all cried out. She's going through a lot at the moment. There's no need for us even to elaborate on that. What does a wife do in a situation like this? Especially people who are so much in love and who are very young. So it's bad for her, it's bad for everyone. The family here and the family that's still coming up, and the guys that he used to work with, and all of us that were his friends and family and colleagues. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mhlo, for your time. That is the family spokesperson. Of course, the details at this stage of the funeral and the memorial service will only come at a later stage. It's over to you, Dudu.
Thank you so much. And Nontobeko CBC in conversation with a family representative from Sfiso Ncwane. Our condolences to the family. In other news, the Hout Bay Civic Association has laid a case of criminal juror against a resident for racist comments she made on social media. Vanessa Hartley caused a furor after saying too many Africans were flocking to the town and should be tied to ropes like animals. She later deleted the post, but not before thousands screen grabbed and retweeted the post.
They like stupid animals. We should tie them to a rope. Too many Africans flocking to Hout Bay. Draw up a petition. Soon there will be nothing left of Hout Bay. These are Vanessa Hartley's words, which have landed her in hot water. Twitter has been abuzz after her Facebook comment. The Hout Bay Civic Association says it's not taking this matter laying down.
It is our view that Hout Bay basically belongs to all people that live in it, just as South Africa belongs to all people who live in it. So therefore, we can't dictate or police people's movement based on their race or their religion or whatever other identity they might have.
The association believes Hartley's comments stem from someone else's post on the treatment of sills at Hout Bay Harbour.
A comment was put onto a Facebook group called Hout Bay Complete, and on this group a lady was raising a issue regarding the treatment of seals within the harbour. And there was a dead seal that was spotted, and the dead seal had a rope and a plastic bag around it. And that is the reference or the context in which Vanessa Hartley made the comment.
Some say this is a reminder of beach segregation during apartheid, when certain beaches were reserved for different races. Meanwhile, Hout Bay residents had this to say.
We don't worry about the people here, or they rich or they poor. Don't worry.
There's still deep problems in South Africa. There's still a lot of classes that are grouped together.
I think it's shocking. I think it's a country for everybody. You can't say this is my space, that's your space, and that's somebody else.
A case of crimen injuria has been laid against Hartley. Tim Tongana, Cape Town.
President Jacob Zuma is encouraging people to continue Nelson Mandela's legacy as the world marks 3 years since Tata's passing. In a statement, Zuma says despite political differences, South Africans need to unite and make the country a better place. He says a lot has been done in building a united, non-racial and non-sexist society.
As South Africans, given the challenges that we are faced with, if only we could remember Madiba and all come down to the level where all of us can agree on a number of things rather than to disagree a lot. Because Madiba wanted South Africa united, wanted South Africa to succeed. And indeed, this is what we should remember about Madiba.
The family of murdered mother of two, Shay Fox, say they fear for their lives because her policeman husband, accused of shooting her 2 years ago, remains armed and on duty. Prosecutor Shay has expressed shock that Edward Kennedy Fox has not been suspended.
Edward Kennedy Fox claims intruders shot his 27-year-old wife Shay in the back of the head while she slept. But the state says he's lying and pulled the trigger himself. Mother of two, Shay's family says she was planning to move out of the home she shared with Fox when she was killed 2 years ago. Prosecutor Shay has taken on the case. He's already expressed outrage at the fact that Fox remains an active and armed police officer. Shay's mother says that fact haunts her family.
I fear for my family. And for his children. So what if he snaps now, because seeing that the high court trial is busy, you know, he might just snap.
With men who are killing women away.
As the ANC Women's League protested outside, Nell argued that the murder of women by their partners is a scourge in South Africa, and this case appeared to illustrate that horrible reality. Bizarrely, when we attempted to speak to Fox, this happened. He was taken out the back exit of the court building, surrounded by police officers.
We're not sure if they're protecting him, but certainly they're not letting us get anywhere near him.
Police officers even stopped traffic and put on a siren so that Fox could leave court. Gauteng police authorities have yet to comment on whether this is standard practice. Karen Morn, Johannesburg.
Further afield now, an Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi has resigned after backing a failed referendum. Renzi has been proposing constitutional reforms to shift the balance of power in the Italian parliament. He's admitted defeat after Italians rejected the proposal. Many have welcomed his decision to step down. Renzi says he takes full responsibility for the failure of the referendum. And a top lieutenant of Ugandan resistance leader Joseph Kony is set to go on trial at The Hague. Dominic Ongwen stands accused of war crimes ranging from child kidnapping and forced marriage to rape and murder. He was arrested in the Central African Republic in January last year. The rebel group called the Lord's Resistance Army, led by Joseph Kony, have wreaked havoc in northern Uganda since forming in 2012. Thank you, Sandile. 14 people have died in 2 separate crashes. A collision between a car and a truck in Mokopane, Limpopo, left 11 people dead, while in Chatsworth, Durban, 3 people died when the bus they were travelling in rolled down an embankment during wet weather. About 70 people were injured. The bus driver has been suspended by the Olympic Bus Company pending the outcome of an investigation. And Wits Management says it has authorised an 8% increase in tuition fees. This also affects residents and international student fees. The university says it has been left with no choice, and the increase will ensure the institution remains financially sustainable. The increases will come into effect next year. University management say the hikes were authorized by the various structures and the SRC had been consulted. If you've missed any of the stories we're tracking for you tonight, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct, or you can head on over to our website. That's eNCA.com/direct. Your business news as well as your weather after this. Welcome back. 40 small contractors are accusing the Gauteng Education Department of owing them millions of rand. They say this is for the work done in turning some of the classrooms paperless. The companies say despite promises to pay, this hasn't been done. However, the department says invoices received from the contractors were full of discrepancies.
These small business contractors say they are owed millions of rand by the Gauteng Education Department. They claim they've been waiting for payment since August for renovation on classrooms to become paperless.
It's owing me more than 285,000 rand, and which means the most problem now, we are struggling with finances right now, because I had to make plans from other construction so I can be able to pay my own peoples.
They are now demanding to be paid.
Number 4, all contractors must be paid by Wednesday, the 7th of December 2016, before 12 midday.
We are committing ourselves as Gauteng Department of Education that whoever has rendered a service will then be paid any amount that is due to that particular service provider. Thank you.
The Education Department says invoices received were full of discrepancies.
Contractual, they've done the job appointed by IDT, and I'm saying to you, we are committed to pay the IDT as soon as we receive a revised invoice that does not have any errors, because some of the errors were things like double dipping, so claiming for work that was done previously as if it was done by the recently appointed contractors.
In 2015, the Public Service Commission issued a report on government's late payment of service providers. It warned that this is crippling small to medium businesses and that the 30-day payment policy must be enforced. Malungelo Boy, Johannesburg.
Let's see how the markets performed today. Here's Candace with all your weather details.
It's been a hot start to the work week with scattered thundershowers forming over parts of the interior in the afternoon. Tuesday morning starts off with some rainfall along the north coast of KwaZulu-Natal, with scattered thundershowers forming over the central and eastern interior. Isolated though as we head over the northeastern parts with a mostly sunny day in the west, and we're forecasting hot weather over the central and southern part of South Africa. Hot weather is also forecast over the interior part of KwaZulu-Natal with isolated thundershowers for much of the province, other than the possibility of morning rain for Richards Bay at 31 degrees. Thundershowers are expected over the eastern interior of the Eastern Cape, 30 from East London through to Port Elizabeth. Dry and hot over the western part of the province as well as the interior part of the Western Cape. Sunny at 32 for George, with a high in the mid-20s along the coast between Hermanus and Longomont. Hot and dry as we head towards the Northern Cape, around 40 degrees for Uppington and Prieska, with isolated thundershowers over the eastern part of the Northern Cape and the southern part of the Free State. Scattered thundershowers are forecast for the rest of the province. Bethlehem at 28 degrees. 37 for Freiburg, with the rest of the highs in the low 30s for the northwest, with up to a 60% chance of thundershowers. You'll also see a few thundershowers extending through to Limpopo, but with the possibility of rainfall over the extreme northeastern parts. Maximum temperatures peak in the mid-20s for the Mpumalanga Highveld, 28 for Bombela, with thundershowers in the forecast throughout the province, 30 degrees for Pretoria, 28 for Johannesburg and Soweto, with isolated thundershowers expected for Gauteng. Thunderstorms continue over the central, northeastern and eastern parts on Wednesday, with a sunny and warm forecast in the west, and then it'll be a similar day on Thursday, with thundershowers mainly over the central and northeastern parts. Hot as we head towards KwaZulu-Natal, with a chance of rain for Cape Town at 23. That's all from the Weather Centre for now. Have a great night.
After the break, a local designer marks the 3 years of former President Nelson Mandela's passing. Three years ago, a local designer had the idea to give new life to the old fence that surrounded Robben Island.
Yep, and now to mark the 3-year passing of former President Nelson Mandela, she's celebrating his memory at her latest exhibition.
Charmaine Taylor took the initiative to create innovative jewellery from a piece of political history. The old prison fence that kept Nelson Mandela and other political prisoners in captivity for decades. Now, to commemorate Madiba's legacy, she's hosted a walk of remembrance.
I wanted to come up with a memorabilia and a walk of remembrance for him, and I collected old newspapers in 2013, and I came up with a few watercolour artworks. So it's the first time I've actually done my own exhibition with watercolour, and also just a little bit of inspiration from Nelson Mandela, and I've done a few of his quotes that just really has inspired me on my journey for the last 3 years.
Guests had the chance to thumb through old newspaper clippings of the former president and also view Taylor's latest art and jewellery collection. Madiba's former prison warder, Christo Brunt, who later became his friend, were among the guests sharing some of their memories.
He was a person always be positive. Like he mobilized people to study. There was people who got life sentence. He said, why must I study? Because I'm going to die anyway in prison. I got life plus 20 years. He said, comrade, you study. Even if you died in prison, leave your certificates behind for people to face. He never stopped thinking for freedom.
He'll always be the father of the nation. Even just being here tonight, you feel his spirit so tangible in this room. It's a beautiful thing, and I hope it never ever goes away.
And while the art decked the walls and the jewellery collection sparkles, it's clear that the memory of Nelson Mandela continues to shine in so many hearts. Tanya Neft, Cape Town.
Here's a reminder of your top stories before we say goodbye. The gospel community shocked by the death of Sfiso Ncwane. Hout Bay residents have opened a case of criminal juror against a resident for racist comments. A call for South Africans to unite as the country remembers former President Nelson Mandela. And that's your Monday edition of eNews Direct.
Yep, until we see you tomorrow, take care.